Hey everybody, welcome back. Wanted to talk to you about diversification and what that actually means. Stay tuned because we'll be having an entire course lesson on the diversification, how diversified you should be, and on the concept of how many stocks make an ideal portfolio. Um, the the concept introduced by Warren Buffett of 20 punches is so important for getting the right framework for your portfolio of investments. Buffett, in his inimitable way, uh, brought the real life experience of having what used to be a card that one would get. This was back in my grandfather's day, where you'd go to a dance, and there would be a card, and the people of the opposite the opposite gender, you'd have their name on a card and you check them off. And I think basically that's how that went. But anyway, he talked about the dance card of your investment life, and the idea that that dance card has 20 punches, meaning every time you dance with a different lady, if you're a guy, and guy if you're a lady, every time you dance, you punch a hole in that person's name, and at the end you would have 20 punches. That's how you should look, Buffett said, about the stock ideas you put into your portfolio. What does that actually mean? Academics would get upset, but academics do get upset, and academics typically underperform the market, and Buffett hasn't. And thinking about the number 20 as a small number, right? People who invest sometimes go out and buy 20 stocks in a month and then sell them all in the following month and churn the account. And of course, the S&P 500, which, if you don't want to do investing as a hobby and an avocation the way I do, you may want to just have the S&P 500. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking a index fund across your lifetime and getting a low-cost index fund, by the way, and getting market returns and dollar cost averaging into that. That's what I recommend to most people, because you have an ability to mimic the future of basically American businesses when you do that. That 500 diversification is too much if you're building a portfolio yourself. But what is the right number? So back to the 20 punches thing. The idea there is not to have yourself married to a 20 stock portfolio, with each thing representing a 5% position. The idea really is that you should view each investment from the framework of, or from the perspective of, someone who only has 20 shots. In Buffett's annual report, he talked about his annual letter. He talked about the idea that over the course of Berkshire Hathaway's illustrious history, they really only had 12 big ideas that carried the freight. So if you think about that and you say, all right, Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, and with Charlie Munger, the greatest duo ever to practice the craft, they came up with 12 great ideas that carried the freight for the entire record on the stock side. So you look at that perspective, and you need to consider the fact that you have to be very decisive and very discriminatory. And how do you do that? You do that through a lot of rejection, right? You do that through looking at lots of different things, rejecting different industries, different stocks that come up on your screens, and looking for the 12 or the 20 or the whatever it is number of companies that can carry the freight. I need to discuss with all of you individually, but collectively as well, that concept that if you view your portfolio of great businesses at a good price as something that over time the market's only going to hand you 20 or so of these superstar things, you start to think differently than if you go into the market with reckless abandon and no discipline. It really comes down to discipline, and it really comes down to the recognition that you don't need a massive portfolio of many different companies to make a tremendous impact. The downside of being undiversified is and having a smaller collection of stocks, if it is a downside, is the daily and monthly volatility that you may have to put up with to tolerate. But if you're investing for the long haul and you're finding great ideas through hard research, then you should want to tolerate the volatility. Again, I think we've talked in prior videos about the fact that you should, if you're entering the stock market and not doing a S&P 500 type index fund, low cost, then you probably should be prepared for volatility. Charlie Munger had talked about that in the past, that you can see drawdowns. One solution that the academics came up with is making a very diversified portfolio, and that kills volatility, at least stock market volatility. But again, we should embrace volatility, and the sole reason for that is that volatility works both ways. And if you find a business that you've calculated to be worth $20, volatility brings it to 10, and nothing else has changed but the stock market's view of that business temporarily, you should celebrate that. And of course, over time, we're happy to see upside volatility as well. So very, very big concept, diversification. And what I want to do is tie it back into your mental state, right? Of course, a lot of investing is mental. Your tolerance for volatility, and also the concept that you should be looking at investments as something that are potentially only a couple dozen great ideas coming across your lifetime. So if you view things through that lens, you should be more disciplined in the way you approach things. There'll be more later, as always, but thank you for joining.